Oh, it's you guys! Welcome back to the Extreme Bible Challenge. I'm Extreme Dude. But you already knew that, huh? Hey, let's go to Commander Larry and let's see what our verse is.
Yes, Extreme Dude. Our verse is found in Galatians 2:20. It says here, "My old self has been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. So I live in this earthly body by trusting in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me."
Dude, that's a great verse. Oh man, love it. Hey boys and girls, have you ever messed up before? Like, have you ever need forgiven? Whoa, Pastor Tony, can you help us out? Like what do we do? What happens when we mess up?
That's right, Extreme Dude. We are learning more about Jesus. In fact, we are learning how Jesus redeems. Yeah, that's our ponder point today. Jesus redeems. Now, we've been talking about the life of Christ. We talked about the death of Jesus and how he came back to life. And today has actually components that occurred both before Jesus died and after he died. And it revolves around this guy named Simon Peter. Do you remember us talking about Simon Peter? Let's think back here. You know what? It wasn't very long ago. Jesus was talking to the crowd on the edge of the Sea of Galilee, and there was a fisherman's boat there, and Jesus asked the fisherman, he said, "Hey, let's go out in the boat so I can talk to the crowd and be able to talk to more people." And that fisherman's name was Simon Peter, wasn't it? And they went out in the boat, and if you remember, when they were in the boat, Jesus said, "Let's go fishing." And Simon was like, "Jesus, we've been up all night and haven't caught anything." But Jesus took them out anyways. He obeyed. He threw the nets over the side, and when they pulled them up, there was so many fish, it almost sank the boat. And at that point, Jesus asked Simon, he changed his name to Peter and said, "I want you to come be a fisher of men," to see people's life changed. Well, that same Simon Peter, he followed Jesus for 3 years. And on the night before Jesus was crucified on the cross, he was following along behind as they arrested him. And this young lady came up and started questioning him, saying, "Aren't you with Jesus? Aren't you one of his disciples?" And you know what? 3 times, Peter, the rock, forgot who he was. And he went back to being that Simon who was kind of afraid and doubted. And he denied that he knew Jesus 3 times. He messed up. He wasn't there for his friend, and he lied. He said he didn't believe in Jesus. Well, Jesus died, and as we all know, Jesus came back to life. Jesus is alive. And I'm sure for Simon Peter, it must have been hard because, well, he was feeling guilty. Have you ever done something wrong and felt bad for it? I know that I have. And asking for forgiveness is tough, and you're always wondering, will they actually forgive me? Have you ever had somebody who's taken a long time to forgive you? Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Well, Simon Peter, he was concerned because he didn't know. And so they had seen Jesus in the room, if you remember that, with Thomas and the other disciples. And a few days went by and they were out of town, and the disciples were just trying to figure out what to do. They didn't know what the plan was, what Jesus wanted them to do. So they went fishing in the Sea of Galilee. Sound familiar? And Peter, he's with a few of the other disciples, and they're in a boat, and they're out there fishing, and they're catching nothing. And all of a sudden, somebody over on the shore yelled out and asked them how they were doing. And then he told them to throw their nets on the other side of the boat. That sounds kind of familiar too. And when they pulled up the nets, it was bursting with fish. There were so many fish inside of there, and instantly Simon Peter knew it's the Lord. It's Jesus. And he was so excited to see Jesus, he didn't wait for the boat to row back into shore. He jumped out and he swam to shore and ran up, and I'm sure he gave Jesus a hug. I mean, can you imagine how excited you would be to see Jesus? But then the reality set in that, you know what, the last time that they'd interacted, it hadn't been so good. And he was wondering if Jesus had forgiven him. So Jesus made them breakfast. And then it was time for a one-on-one conversation with Jesus. And Jesus 3 times asked Peter, "Do you love me?" In fact, the first time he said, "Simon, do you love me?" Probably referring to the fact that Simon used to be a certain way, but now he's changed. But 3 times he said, "Do you love me?" Why do you think he said it 3 times? I think it was because Peter said he didn't believe in Christ 3 times. In each of those 3 times, listen to what Jesus said. First he says, "Feed my lambs." Then he says, "Take care of my sheep." Then he says, "Feed my sheep." Now, who takes care of sheep? Do you remember? Shepherds. That's right, shepherds take care of sheep. And he was telling Peter that, Peter, I want you to shepherd, to take care of my church, to take care of my people. And you see, the cool part about that is that Jesus really forgives. Jesus redeems. That means even though Peter had messed up, Jesus made it all better. Boys and girls, sometimes we mess up. Even Pastor Tony messes up sometimes. But it's so good to know that even though I make mistakes, God forgives me and Jesus redeems. Back to you, Extreme Dude.
Whoa, that's so cool. You know, boys and girls, sometimes, well, y'all make mistakes. And when that happens, the best thing to do is just to remind yourself, I love Jesus. In fact, I'm gonna do what Jesus wants me to do. That's what Peter did. All right, boys and girls, I'll see you guys next time on the Extreme Bible Challenge. Aw, sweet! Dude, in case you didn't know, I'm on YouTube. Yeah, I got my own channel. Have your parents go to YouTube on their phones and type in Extreme Dude, and every week you can watch the Extreme Bible Challenge. Oh yeah, make sure you subscribe so you can see what's happening. All right, talk to you guys later.